I was lucky enough to be invited to the press preview for the High Isle chapter for the Elder Scrolls Online. Let me tell you what I know. Hello, it's Icy. Yes, that's right, thanks to Zenimax, I did get to check out the press preview of the High Isle chapter for ESO for 2022. Now, just a couple of things to note. The build we got to check out was at least a month old. It was a bit buggy in different places. There were some assets missing, more world building needed to happen, but the essence of everything was there and working. And it was lovely. The other thing is we're not allowed to show you any direct footage from the test server, so all of the images and videos you see here are provided by Zenimax. They're taken from the server, but they're just the ones that have been provided. So I can still, though, tell you all of my impressions, things I found out, what I learned. So let's get into it. So, as you will know probably, and if not, check out the previous videos in this playlist, the High Isle chapter is set in the Sisters Islands. Now, these islands are unknown to Tamriel. They appear in the Red Guard computer game way back in the day. They just pop up on the map. They're northwest of the Somerset Isles, but there are no in-game story references to these islands. So Zenimax has actually got to make up the story for these islands for themselves, which is really interesting. I am very much looking forward to seeing what they do without as many constraints as they do usually. So they normally have to set a story in a location in part of Tamriel that has a story, has already been, either it already exists in lore as history, or it already will exist in the future and they need to fit in around this. This is maybe the first time they've actually got to tell a full story from scratch with mostly their own ideas. So very excited to see how they do that and what they do. The other interesting thing is they're going into the history and culture of the Bretons. Now, the Bretons, to look at, you might think are a very kind of conventional fantasy race, but I have to say, I think they are going to turn out to be quite interesting, have a lot more interesting back culture than we were previously aware of. So it's going to be, fascinating to see what they do with what is nominally just a kind of, a normal fantasy race. So very much also looking forward to that. So the Sisters Islands are actually several islands. There are two main ones. One is High Isle, the island that the chapter is named for, and it could be considered a garden. There are fields of sunflowers. There are beautiful structured castles, but it is not all that. It looks like it has in the past had a wilder side, a wilder history. There are felled forests as you ride around. There are druidic shrines that sort of look maybe abandoned or taken over. It looks like also maybe there is some element of kind of feudal population living there. There are a number of stone huts, like roundhouses. So it's not all castles. So I'm quite interested to see how this actually pulls together. So the dark reflection, the other island, the mirror perhaps, of High Isle is Amanos. It's a prison island. It's pure jungle. It's filled with animals that are trying to kill you. They send criminals there. And, well, obviously it's Australia. But no, it's quite interesting. It very much is a mirror to High Isle, and it is genuinely a location that I think is the wildest place in Tamriel. There are huge trees. It really feels like a jungle. It feels genuinely claustrophobic. The other wildest place I've ever seen in ESO is perhaps Murkmire. This is much, much more forested. The trees are taller. Everything feels like it's closing in. There is ground cover. The paths are hard to tell where they are. It really does feel very different to anywhere else in ESO, and I'm looking forward to exploring it more thoroughly. High Isle, on the other hand, very much is a garden, but it has elements of the Somerset Isles, which makes sense because it's kind of part of that same chain. But where the High Elves have taken the existing nature in the Somerset Isles and tweaked it, it feels like on High Isle they've taken that nature and bulldozed it and then put in their own. So it's quite a different feeling. There are some elements that are similar, like a lot of coral, the coral beaches. There are aspects that remind you of Somerset, but I suspect that the contrasts will be even stronger. So the world events for High Isles are volcanic incursions. So as you ride around the islands, both of them, you'll see large volcanic areas where it looks like there's an actual volcano developing, with very big volcanic beasties hanging out there as well. I'm not sure how this ties in. In some of them that I've seen, there is a green mystic fire in the middle, and there are similar green fires around the island, which are druidic shrines. It's quite interesting. There's a very strong druidic presence through the High Isle, so I'm not sure how that ties in with the Breton culture, but I am looking forward to finding out. So let's talk story as well. So it's been made very clear that this is a purely political story. There are no Daedric princes waiting in the wings for these ones. There's no overwhelming mystic magic kind of back end to this. This is pure politics. So you are working for the Steadfast, which is an organization that was founded to negotiate peace between the three alliances and to end the Three Banners War in Cyrodiil. Opposing you are the Ascendant Lord and the Ascendant Mage. Their aim is to return Tamriel to pretty much like the idea of city-states. So to remove the alliances completely, which is an interesting... Yeah, it's quite an interesting idea. I'm not sure whether within the story that they feel themselves are the goodies, or if there is a larger sort of back end kind of thing going on there. Very interesting. And this is probably an actual spoiler, though it might not be. There is a very strong sea elf presence around the islands. In the fact that there are actually sea elves around, but also one of the main suits of the Tales of Tribute card game is actually the Undying King of the Sea Elves. So that is something else that is linked in and going on as well. So I'm interested to see how that goes and how that fits in with the rest of it. So the other part of the story, I suspect, is looking at and examining the nasty underbelly of the High Breton society. So there is definitely some indication. Obviously, they have an entire prison island, so that's not a good start. But I think there are going to be more subtle kind of examinations of how the Bretons are, how the noble Bretons are, and how they actually are treating the people who are under them, looking after them, working for them, are enslaved possibly by them. Interesting to see how that story develops. But I am very much looking forward to the new chapter. It launches on the 6th of June on PC, and I think usually 2 weeks afterwards for console. It is not, as time of recording, yet released on the public test server, and we don't know when yet. However, it's usually 6 weeks before the launch date that actually goes to PTS. So if that's the case, we're kind of looking at about 10 days-ish from the launch of this video. Could be earlier if we're very lucky. Maybe, but yeah, assume about 10 days. However, if you have any questions about the new chapter that I can answer for you, or I can jump on to the preview server and investigate, let me know in the comments. Please also check out the video about the Tales of Tribute, the new card game, in which I go into a lot more detail about that new system that's coming to the Elder Scrolls Online. You will see me playing quite a bit of cards over on my stream at twitch.tv/ICYIC. Please come and throw me a follow there, as well as here on YouTube. I'm a member of the ESO Stream Team, and so I have giveaways and all sorts of stuff, and I would love to see you. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.